Hello and welcome to Switch King. In this video, we're going to be going over the first in a 10-part series where I give you my top 100 games for the Nintendo Switch of all time. I was inspired to do this format of video by the folks over the Dice Tower, one of my favorite channels on the platform and one that I've been following for well over 15 years. It's a channel dedicated to board games and the board game hobby, and as you can see from the wall over here, that's a hobby that I'm highly invested in. One of the things that they do every year in January is they release their top 100 board games of all time. The reason that they do this year after year is because new releases, and those new releases sometimes become some of our favorites. This is something that I've always wanted to do with my own Switch collection. I have almost 400 games now between those that I have physically and the ones that I have digitally on the Switch itself, and I wanted to give you my top 100 list to help you find new games that maybe you haven't heard of before. Of course, this being my personal opinion, I don't expect my list to be the same as yours and vice versa. One thing I ask is that if you do have a difference of opinion that you let me know in the comments, but you do so respectfully. My list should not be the same as yours, and I would be absolutely flabbergasted if it ever was. But keep in mind that I'm not doing this list based off critic opinion. This is 100% based on my own personal gaming taste. And therefore, some of the top rated games on the Switch, such as Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, are not my number 1 and number 2. They are on my top 100, but you'd have to watch to find out where. The purpose of this list is to help you find games that maybe you've never heard of and add them to your own library. If I've succeeded in doing that, let me know in the comments. If you see a game in the list that's a little bit farther back than you expected because maybe on your list it should be higher up, let us know in the comments why that's the case. The purpose of this type of video is to start a dialogue within the community so we can all find new games to enjoy. One of the things that I like to do on the channel are giveaways. I'm a brand new channel, and you putting your trust in me and giving into this community means a lot to me. I'm almost at 2,000 subscribers, and after only a couple months of making content, I cannot thank you enough. One of the things that we're going to be doing in this series is giving away a copy of Bayonetta 1. Now keep in mind that this is a Japanese import that I got from PlayAsia, and it has the Japanese text on the back, but it does have full English translation and it is not region locked. To win this copy of Bayonetta, it's going to be super easy. All you got to do is leave a comment on the videos within the series. At the end of this series, when I do my number 1, I'm also going to announce the winner of this game. And I think that's everything I needed to say at the start of this video. So let's get into my top 100 games for the Nintendo Switch as of 2024. And as always, if you enjoy the content, drop a like and sub, I'd greatly appreciate it. Now keeping in mind, just because this game is number 100 doesn't mean that it's bad in any way. Out of almost 400 games, this is still one of my favorite games of all time. Sadly, what keeps it at the back though is the fact that I actually really like the original game on the 3DS way more, and this is actually a sequel. The story sees you following a princess as she has to collect these elemental crystals that have been scattered throughout the land. It boasts one of the best job systems in all JRPG history, and I am of course talking about Bravely Default 2. Now if you've ever played Bravely Default, you know that it has a great risk-reward combat system in which you can go into Braver Default and make your attacks stronger or make your defenses better. It's up to you to determine how much risk you want to take in order to take down one of the enemies. But another thing that makes this game absolutely phenomenal is the job system. It has so many to choose from and each one is pretty unique from the rest. But one thing that I love about Bravely Default is actually the asterisk system. You see, whenever you defeat a boss, you can find a thing called an asterisk, and this is going to be something like a passive slot you can put on a character. One of my favorite asterisks in the game is actually one that reduces all mana cost by 20%. You put that on a white mage for better healing or a black mage for more efficient spells, and it's just such a great system for you to kind of really min-max how you want your characters to operate. The story is really good, although some of the characters are a little bland, but overall it's a game that I've always really loved. But again, what holds it back the most is the fact that I really like the original more. I think it's because it was a new IP back then and we were all intrigued by what Square was bringing to us and what world we were about to adventure in, and there's nothing wrong with the world here at all, but man, I will always cherish that 3DS experience more, and that's what really holds it back to being number 100. Other than that though, this game is phenomenal. Coming in at number 99, talking about one of my favorite anime games of all time. Why? Because it's one of my favorite animes of all time, and I'm saying that a lot because I absolutely adore it. I love this anime so much that sitting here on my shelf behind me when I'm streaming, I actually have statues of Kirito and of course Asuna sitting right here. That is of course Sword Art Online. Now, when you have 3 to choose from, you really have to look and see which portion of the anime is your favorite. And for me, it's gonna be Hollow Realization. That original series arc that started it all is one of my favorite storylines that I've ever seen in anime, and I really love all the characters that came in it. In the game, you kind of can make whatever character you want, and you follow the characters as they go through trying to battle against the creator of the Nerve Gear, and of course reach the top of the tower to get out. The thing is though, what holds this game back for a lot of people is actually how complex it is. And when you hear anime game, you don't often think of complexity, but the truth is, this has one of the most complex character growth systems I've ever seen in the game, to the point to where it turns off a lot of people. My wife doesn't even like this game because of how complicated that character growth growth can be. To basically give you a TLDR of how it works, it's a hack and slash where you have skill trees that manage how your character grows. But the thing is every time you get a new skill, that skill also has a skill tree that you also have to min-max. There's a lot of management in this game, and sometimes that's a little bit more than what people are looking for when it comes to just playing a game based on their favorite anime. But the truth is, I absolutely love this game. Now, I will speak quickly about the other two. Alicization Lycoris, I can almost never say that, is a great game, but I haven't put enough time into it to say it's in my top 100. And the other one, Fatal Bullet, is a game that I really do like. However, there are some things that hold it back, such as I'm not the biggest fan of the story arc. I just really like this original story the most when you get to meet these characters and follow along on their journey. So for me, at number 99, we have Sword Art Online Hollow Realization. Now, my number 98 on paper is two halves. On one half, I should really not like this game. It's generic fantasy to the max. But then you throw in turn-based combat that takes place on a hex grid, and I'm absolutely interested. The thing that makes this game so great, and the reason it sits in my top 100, is because of the great story that it has. It's a little generic, right? You have to build an army to defeat the big bad. But what sets this game apart, and the reason I really like it, is the huge immersive world that you get to go through. You have to help all the locals through main quests and side quests, gathering the locals into an army, and then nurturing that army so that way you can defeat the big bad in the end. I am talking about King's Bounty 2, one of the games that was not on my list when I first initially looked at it, but then I popped it in and I gave it another try, and I realized the combat in this game is so much fun, and I would be lying to myself if I didn't include it in my top 100. This isn't a game a lot of people talk about, but if you're into immersive worlds with a deep combat system that's turn-based and again takes place on a hex grid, King's Bounty 2 is gonna be a game you're gonna want to give a try. Again, that's my number 98, King's Bounty 2. Coming in at number 97 is a game that sadly I only have digitally on the eShop and I do not have a physical copy for, and that is Regalia of Men and Monarchs. Now, this is a turn-based tactical game that has a little bit of a humorous twist. From what I understand, this was a Kickstarter that was completed back in the late teens, and it's a game that honestly I never would have heard of had I not noticed it was on sale on the eShop and I gave it a try. But I'm glad I did. It's absolutely hilarious. It has a good humorous twist that honestly, as with everything when it comes to comedy, if it is up your alley, it's gonna make you laugh, and if it doesn't click, it's gonna drive you nuts. So know that going in. I would highly recommend you watch a video of maybe an interaction between a couple characters to see if the comedy hits for you, and if it does, definitely give this one a try. It's a turn-based tactical RPG in all the best ways. You take your team, move them around on a grid, and you battle the foes. But what makes this game so great, and one of the reasons that I absolutely love it, other than the humor, which again clicks for me, is the fact that it actually takes something that I love from the Persona series and it implements it very well here. Everything takes place over the course of a calendar year or so, and you'll be told that you have a battle, let's say on June 1st. Well, throughout the month of May, you have to make a decision on how you spend those days, whether it's battling your army so that way you can level them up, going out and crafting materials, selling materials, or just resting. And all those decisions matter because when that battle inevitably comes on June 1st, you have to see if you're ready to take on the enemy. And if you're not, you're gonna get absolutely trounced. The characters are great and the art style is beautiful. It's one of those hidden gems that I'm so happy that I found on the eShop when it was on sale, and I highly recommend that you give it a try. Again, that's my number 97, Regalia of Men and Monarchs. Coming in at number 96 is another digital-only eShop game that I found thanks to Wood over at Beat 'em Ups when he was doing a series about great games on the eShop that you should try, and that is Sleep Tight. I never would have given this game a second look, but based on his recommendation, I checked it out, and I'm so glad that I did. It's a short game. It's not going to take you very long to play through it, but that's the beauty of it. It's a tower defense where you play a young kid who has to battle the demons that come out at night. You're going to set up your room with Nerf gun turrets and pillow forts and try to beat back the darkness, whether it be demons that you see at night or the boogeyman who comes from under your bed. It's so cute and charming, and again, because it's such a short game, it's just a blast to play. During the daytime, you're going to use currency to upgrade the weapons and forts that you've built so that you can defeat the monsters further and further, all the way until you get to, I think, level 30. Once you've done that, you've beaten the game. It's one of those types of games you're going to sit on the couch and play real quick, but it's not something that's going to be so heavy that it's going to tire you out. I absolutely adore this game, and I'm so glad that I was able to check out that video that Wood made because I never would have found it if it were not for him. So Wood, thank you as always for making great content on YouTube, and for you, that's my number 96, Sleep Tight. Coming in at number 95 is a platformer that I absolutely love, and when there's 4 titles in this series to pick, it's actually kind of hard to determine which one is my favorite. I'm going to go with the most recent release in the series though, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. There is an argument to be made that the original trilogy is better because they are great games and there's nostalgic for a lot of us. But the thing is though, when you play these older games and you compare them to something that's new, you can kind of see the pitfalls of the game development at the time. Not that that's a bad thing. Again, these are colossal giants in the platformer space and they deserve the pedestal that they stand upon. But for me, whenever I want to play Crash Bandicoot, I always go to Crash Bandicoot 4. There's just something about all the content that they've jam-packed into this title, and there is a lot in here and a lot to do. I will admit it's a little bit more difficult than some of these original titles, and it's not something that I would recommend for kids because it can be really, really hard. But with a little guidance and a little patience, of course, we were all there at one point when a part in the game was just so bad we wanted to throw the controller, but over time and resilience we were able to figure it out, and I think Crash Bandicoot 4 will teach a lot of youngsters that lesson. But for me, there's just something graphically beautiful about the inverted mode, and although some of the visuals are downgraded, obviously because it's a Switch port, whenever I get that itch to play a Crash game, I always go to my number 95, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Coming in at the number 94 slot on my list is a game that came out originally in 2011, and honestly the only reason it is this low on the list is I usually play it on my PC. I am talking about Skyrim, Elder Scrolls number 5. The truth is, I don't need to tell you that this game is good, no one does. Everybody already knows because they've reported this and re-released this game time and time again because it is a classic. Everyone loves traveling the world, fighting dragons, going through caves and going through dungeons. Whether you want to do it through stealth or brute force, this game has it for you. The story is fantastic. All the different mods that they were able to add onto this through the Game of the Year edition is phenomenal. The only thing that holds it back for me on the Switch is obviously all the modded support that you get on Steam, as well as the fact that there's no way to fix some of the performance issues that this game can have. Now obviously the performance issues aren't that bad, otherwise this game wouldn't be so highly rated, but it is still evident, and when you play it on PC, those are things you can avoid. Anyone who's ever played an RPG, whether or not you like turn-based or not, Skyrim has always been one that you've either heard of or you've tried, and you either loved it or you hated it. It's always something that's going to be in our zeitgeist for the longest time. When Elder Scrolls 6 finally comes out, probably in the next 3 to 4 years, I have a feeling Skyrim will finally start to fade into the distance, but that's only if Bethesda can actually give us a game that is worthy of defeating this colossal giant. However, with the recent release of Starfield and how much of a disaster that ended up being for them in terms of the bugginess and how bland the world was, I'm not sure if Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be able to bring down this titan. Time will tell, and hopefully they learn their lessons with Starfield. Now obviously the next Elder Scrolls game is not going to come out for the Switch. Maybe it'll be the Switch 2 or whatever Switch is called at that time, but for now, we have Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim, which is my number 94, my top 100 Switch games of all time. Coming in at number 93 is a game that I actually used to play back on my PSP. This is a game that was remastered for the Switch, and when that remaster was announced, I was head over heels with excitement. It's a game series that I've always been a fan of. I love Final Fantasy Tactics and games of that ilk, and that is of course Tactics Reborn. This game came out not that long ago, and to be honest, it was sadly overshadowed by another Tactics game that I just prefer that much more. The thing is with this game, they didn't give it that much of an updated treatment that I was really hoping. They didn't give it that 2D HD treatment that all these other games in the genre were getting. They also changed some things with the combat that I wasn't a fan of, such as the random drops and card system. But they did add a lot of quality of life updates that I absolutely love, and I'm so glad that they put them in here. And the fully voice acted storyline is something that just pulls you in that much more, especially when it's something that has as many paths as this one. And the many paths of the storyline are another reason why this game is so great. Because the story is such a good tentpole of what a great story should be, having the multiple paths means that replays feel great time and time and again. But again, the reason this is at my number 93 slot is because there's another Tactics game on the Switch that I love just so much more, so much that it's in my top 10. If you think you know which one it is, let me know in the comments down below. But that being said, again, that's my number 93, Tactics Ogre Reborn. Coming in at number 92 is a game that has the ability to take countless hours from you and still give a bunch back. But the reason it's this far down is because I actually prefer playing it on my PC above all else. I am talking about No Man's Sky, one of the biggest comeback stories of all time in gaming. When this game originally came out, I'm sure you've heard the stories. It was an absolute dumpster fire in terms of the promises that were made by the company. But through countless updates and a lot of TLC, this game has become one of the best games that we've ever played. And thankfully, they were able to bring it to the Switch in a pretty good fashion. It has all the updates that were available up to that point, and they run phenomenally well on the system. If you ever just want to sit on your couch and get lost in hours upon hours of space exploration, No Man's Sky is going to be the game for you. Of course, it has a campaign that you can follow, but honestly, most of the fun of this game is just exploring unknown worlds and uncharted places that you've never seen before, seeing what kind of creatures you can find and what places you can go. That is what makes No Man's Sky so great. And because of all the hard work that this team has put into this game to make sure it came from where it was to what it is now, you can't help but want to support it just on the basis of that alone. The team behind this game truly deserves all the support that the gaming community can give to them, because without something like this as an example, we have games such as The Day Before, which when they come out they abandon them a day after, but the team who covers No Man's Sky never gave up, and thankfully they've given us one of the best space exploration games we've ever had. And that's going to be my number 92, No Man's Sky. The last game on today's list was one of my sleeper hits of last year. I did not think I was going to enjoy this title as much as I did, although I do really like the IP. The fact that they said they were porting it to the Switch was an absolute shock to me. When I played it originally at the beginning of last year, I thought to myself, there's no way they're going to be able to bring this to the Switch. But they did, and to be honest, it runs phenomenally well. The reason this game is so far back on the list isn't because the game is bad, it's because I primarily play it on my PC. And I am talking about Hogwarts Legacy. Regardless of your feelings about the creator of the Hogwarts IP, I love this game, and I think this game is a great testament to how you can take an IP and make it an actual good functioning game. The thing with IP games is often they're pretty lazily put together because they have the name and the brand, and they know people are going to buy it based on that alone. Look at, for example, the Skull Island game that came out this last year, as well as the Gollum game, which were both absolute dumpster fires. They were trying to float on the name itself rather than the actual game and its components. But here in Hogwarts Legacy, you have a compelling story where you get to create your own wizard, join a house, go to classes, explore the magical world of Hogwarts and the island that it sits on, while meeting new characters and helping them out on quests and adventures. You can run around collecting creatures, doing broom races, finding collectibles, as well as, of course, fighting dark witches. There's a plethora of spells to learn, and as you can tell from how much I'm talking about it, I really like this game, and I found it to be one of my favorite games of last year. Don't take its spot at 91 as a degradation. I play this mostly on PC, and I actually rarely play it on Switch. The only reason I own a title for the Switch is actually from my wife, because she doesn't like to play PC games and she plays the Switch way more often. She absolutely loves this game and plays it all the time right now. She gets a little frustrated obviously because again it's not as graphically beautiful as the one on my PC, and when she comes over and sees me playing it on there, she kind of feels a little jealous because it is a little watered down to function on the system that she has. But overall it is a phenomenal experience, and if there ever was a game that's going to take you into the Harry Potter world and give you that feeling of being a witch or wizard with powerful spells, Hogwarts Legacy is going to be the one for you, and I really hope that they make a sequel. That's my number 91 and the final one for this list, Hogwarts Legacy. Well, there you go. Those are the first 10 in my top 100 games of all time for the Nintendo Switch as of 2024. What did you think of that list? Do you agree or disagree? Remember, keep the comments respectful. I'll see you guys on the next list, number 90 through 81, and as always, have a great day.